Are you packing for a cruise? Then you know that taking a cruise is different than any other vacation. Most other vacations don't have you packing for everything from hanging out poolside to formal dining to casual wear, while also bringing things to make your room more comfortable. To some people, it might be overwhelming, but do not worry. After literally dozens of cruises, I have some of my top cruise packing tips that I wish I knew before I ever sailed. Before I start, just a quick note to tell you that Cruzely is approaching 100,000 subscribers that are cruisers just like you. So if you find this video helpful, then I hope that you'll join up to help us reach that goal. That said, the first thing you'll want to know is that compared to the hassle that comes with taking luggage on an airplane, packing for a cruise is refreshingly easy. There's no reasonable limit as to how much you can bring on your trip. If you want to pack a couple large suitcases, that's perfectly fine. You also don't have to worry about things like baggage fees or weight limits on your bag. That said, it is a good idea to keep it within reason. Remember that you'll have to carry your bags to get to port, and you don't want to pack luggage that is too heavy for you to handle. Also, keep in mind that if you have to fly to your departure port, then you're going to have to follow those pesky airplane luggage rules. Have a favorite bottle of shampoo you want to bring? Or maybe you were bringing a full-size bottle of sunscreen. Unlike airplanes, cruise ships don't have limits on the size of liquids that you can bring. You also don't have to pack all your liquids into a small Ziploc bag like you do when you're flying. So go ahead and take advantage of the rule. Things like sunscreen or aloe and toiletries are expensive on the ship. You want to bring these from home and take advantage of the fact that you can bring as much as you need. Now, you aren't allowed to pack beer or liquor on most cruise lines. Ships prefer that you buy your drinks on board. One exception is that all the major lines let you bring on at least one bottle of wine or champagne. Different cruise lines have different rules, but the amount will either be one bottle per adult passenger or one bottle per cabin. Take full advantage of this policy. A glass of wine, it can easily run $8 to $15 with gratuity then added on. In other words, that bottle of wine or champagne, it can save you a nice chunk of change during your cruise. Are you a soda drinker? Or maybe you have kids that are traveling with you? Or maybe you have a favorite brand of beverage that isn't likely served on the ship. In many cases, you can pack a small amount, usually a 12-pack of non-alcoholic drinks to bring with you. Most notably, Carnival and Royal Caribbean, they allow you to bring your favorite drinks with you as long as they don't have alcohol in them. Given the fact that individual sodas are around $4 a pop on the ship, a 12-pack alone is worth roughly $50. As well, if you have a favorite drink, it's nice to be able to bring it with you so that you can enjoy it during your vacation. I've put a link to drink policies for all the cruise lines in the description below so you can see exactly what you're allowed to bring line by line. Sometimes the best tip on packing for a cruise is what not to bring. If you use a hair dryer, then know that just like a regular hotel, you'll have one already in the cabin. It's small, but it should be able to get the job done for a week on the ship. One thing to note is that the hair dryer usually isn't in the cabin bathroom like you think it would be. Instead, you'll often find it in the built-in vanity that's in your main cabin. If you want, you can still pack your hair dryer from home as they are allowed, but it's just not needed. If you're going to the pool or the beach, you need a towel, right? The great news is that these are provided for free on a cruise. That means you don't need to pack them in your suitcase and take up valuable space. That should save you a ton of room in your luggage. You'll find the towels either already in your cabin when you board, or you can just pick one up from the pool area. They're free for you to use and even take into port. Just be sure to return it or you will be charged for missing towels. Also, make sure that you are using the beach towel and not just the regular bath towels that you'll find in the cabin bathroom. If your cabin will have a window, then there will be at least some light that can enter the room at night. In an interior cabin, however, it will be pitch black. That's why I suggest packing a nightlight. Picture yourself in a completely black room and you need to get up to use the restroom in the middle of the night. You're likely to bump into everything. Yes, you can leave a light on in the bathroom, and some ships now have a dim glow with the bathroom light, even when it is off, just to give you a little light to walk by. To be sure, a cheap nightlight, it can make things much easier, however, should you have to get up in the middle of the night. Are you sailing on a newer ship? If so, then they have gotten much better about putting in more outlet space. Older ships, those built more than about 15 or 20 years ago, they will often have only 1 or 2 places to plug things in. In that case, it's smart to bring an outlet adapter. These plug in and they give you several more outlets in place of one. That way, you can charge all your devices at once, use a curling iron, or plug in that nightlight that I mentioned. Packing one of these adapters is worth its weight in gold, and it's something that you don't want to forget. Just be sure that it does not have a surge protector with it. Devices with surge protection, they are prohibited on cruise ships. As well, Royal Caribbean recently added all kinds of adapters to their prohibited items list. So if you're selling Royal, then don't bring one. On a cruise ship, you can be hundreds of miles from shore. If you have a headache or an upset stomach, you do not want to be without relief. And yes, there will be a small store on the ship that can sell over-the-counter medicines, but they can be expensive and they aren't open in the middle of the night. Instead, be generous in packing for any situation that might come up. It won't seem silly bringing a whole medicine cabinet if something comes up and you have just the thing to help you feel better. One of the great things about cruising is that there aren't really restrictions on how much you can pack. If you want to bring a couple of suitcases, you can, as I mentioned before. That's a blessing, and it's also a curse for some people. It means that many people overpack for their trip. The issue with packing too much is that you still have to carry those suitcases to and from the port and around the ship as you get to your room. Instead, try to pack lighter if you can. For instance, on a 7-day cruise, you really only need 3 or 4 outfits. You can wear the same thing twice and nobody cares. There's still plenty of things to pack, but don't let it be so much that you can't handle your bags yourself. It is so much easier to sail with less luggage. Now, if you're taking a cruise to the Caribbean, you might think it's nothing but sun and warm weather, but nights, they can honestly get pretty cool. Add to that the fact that the ship sails from port to port in the evenings, and it means that they can also get really breezy with the ship moving. Even if you head inside, the ship's air conditioning can also freeze you out. All you need to do is to be sure to bring some layers with long sleeves. You don't need a winter coat or anything, but a light jacket or a hoodie, it is a great thing to bring with you along with some long pants. One of the most popular things to do on a cruise is lay your towel out and get some sun poolside. On a day at sea, it can seem like everyone is on the ship topside soaking in the sun. On these sea days, the ship is also moving as it sails to port. That means there's a constant breeze. Considering that some ships can sail at 20 miles per hour or more, it can be downright windy depending on the wind direction. If you're trying to relax in a lounger, expect your towel to be whipping around in the wind. Now, towel clips are cheap and they can clamp each corner of your towel down. That means no towel corners moving around and hitting you as the wind blows. Similar to an airport, you can check your bags at the cruise terminal when you arrive. The porters, they will take them and the bags will then be delivered to your cabin later that evening. Anything you need for the first day, however, as well as valuables and things like prescriptions, they should be in a carry-on bag that you bring with you. But it's a smart idea to leave any big bag with the porters. This allows you to board with much less to carry to your room, which might be several decks from where you actually get on the ship. When you get off the ship after you return from your cruise, you can choose to let the staff take your bags the night before, and they will be waiting in the cruise terminal. But if you carry everything off yourself, then you can use the self-assist debarkation, which is the first group to get off the ship. That's handy if you want to be off the ship for an early flight. Head to the Caribbean or the Bahamas and you won't forget your flip-flops, but don't forget those walking shoes either. There can be a lot of walking on a cruise. First, ships are big, and going from your cabin to breakfast, to the pool, to lunch, to the casino, back to the cabin, and then to the theater and dinner, it adds up to a lot of steps. As well, when you head into port and explore, there can also be a lot of walking. The piers alone can be more than 1,000 feet long before you even hit dry land. In other words, you can wear sandals if you want, but your feet will thank you for bringing a good pair of walking shoes and then switching to the sandals when you hit the beach or the pool. Now, no matter if you let the porters take your bags at the terminal, you should always board the ship with at least a carry-on bag. This carry-on needs to have anything you might need for the first day, plus anything that's important and you don't want out of your sight. Check bags are delivered to your room that evening, but bags do get delayed or even lost sometimes. That means you'll want things in your carry-on like a change of clothes or boarding documents, any medications that you might need, and of course your passport. And if you're bringing on liquids like wine or champagne, you should also pack those in your carry-on. The last thing you want is for those to accidentally break in checked luggage and just soak everything. As a general rule of thumb, don't bring anything on the ship that can cause a fire. Now, fire is one of the biggest risks on a cruise ship, and lines take that threat seriously. Things like candles and incense, they are absolutely banned from your luggage. You can pack some items, such as curling irons or hair dryers, as well as cigarette lighters. They are allowed as well. Just be smart about what might start a fire if it were left unattended. If it could, then leave it at home. If your suitcase only has a couple of wheels or no wheels at all, go ahead right now and do yourself a favor and upgrade to a 4-wheel version. This type of luggage, it's more easy to maneuver around narrow hallways and in crowded elevators. As well, it doesn't constantly hit your heels when walking. I found them to be much easier to handle on a cruise. I likely don't need to tell you that there's been a revolution in the legality of marijuana and CBD in many states, but they still aren't allowed on a cruise ship even if it is sailing from a place where it's legal. That gets especially confusing when sailing from a place like Seattle, Washington to Alaska. Both of those are legal recreational states. Even so, the cruise lines, they follow federal rules, which they do not allow the substance. Keep in mind that a cruise ship can also sail to several different countries, which might have different laws themselves. For that reason, anything tied to marijuana, including recreational or medical or CBD, it is not allowed on cruise ships, so don't pack it. Space is always tight in a cruise cabin, and a couple of empty suitcases taking up room can make it feel even more cramped. There is plenty of room at the bottom of the closets in the cabin, but an even smarter place to store your unpacked luggage, it's under the bed. Beds typically have empty space underneath them that is the perfect height to fit your suitcase. It keeps them out from under your feet and in a space that would otherwise be empty. Best of all, you do not have to worry about forgetting your bag. After all, you're not going home without your luggage all packed up. Now, no matter how carefully you fold your clothes, when they spend a day in a suitcase, they're going to come out wrinkled. Due to the fire risk, cruise cabins, they don't have irons and they're not allowed. If you want something ironed, you usually have to send it to the ship's laundry room, although some ships do have their own personal laundry rooms that passengers can use. Instead, however, you can pack a small bottle of wrinkle release spray. Simply spray it on, smooth out the fabric, and the wrinkles will disappear. It's much easier than having to send something down to the cleaners. Best of all, they sell small bottles of the stuff that are perfect for a few days at sea. Thanks for watching, and before you go, if you have a favorite cruise packing tip that I didn't cover, I hope that you will put it in the comments section to help other people get ready for their cruise. And if you found this video helpful, then I hope that you'll join the 100,000 subscribers to Cruzely. And remember, you can always find more on everything cruising at Cruzely.com. Until next time, happy sailing.